Hello children, welcome to today's English class. Hope you all are safe, healthy and happy at home. Children, you might remember we have learnt few poems from your prose text before in our previous classes. And we have also learnt about the figures of speech or the poetic devices which the poet used to make the poem more interesting and so that the readers understand the theme of the poem well. And it also enhances the beauty of the poem. For example, the rhyme scheme gives a rhythm to the poem, and the devices like alliteration, repetition and refrain helps us understand the theme of the poem in a better manner. So today also we are going to learn a poem from your prose text, The Tale of Custard the Dragon. The title of the poem might sound strange to you, but as we learn the poem, you will understand why the poet has given this particular name to the poem. Children, we all have learned that the poet tries to give a message through his poem to the readers, and even the title of the poem or the name of the poem has its own significance. And as we learn the poem, we try to understand the significance of the title. As I told you, the poem which we are going to read today has been written by Ogden Nash. Let me just give you a brief introduction of the poem or the main characters of the poem. Belinda is a little girl, okay, and she has few pets in her house, and she had given them peculiar names, okay, like she had a kitten whom she had named Ink. She had a grey mouse, okay, whom she had named Blink, and she had a yellow dog whom she named Mustard, and she also had a dragon whom she named Custard. Okay children, so these are the characters of the poem. Now Belinda is a little girl and these are her pets. The kitten was black in color, okay. So do you have pets with these names, children? The names of her pets are also strange for us, okay. So the kitten was named Ink, the mouse was named Blink, and the yellow dog, since the color of the dog was yellow, and you know that mustard flowers are yellow in color. You might have seen mustard fields whenever you have traveled to the mainland. So since the dog was yellow in color, she named the dog Mustard. And dragon, she had a dragon, children. So that itself is strange, isn't it? You have heard about cats or dogs or rabbits or birds being kept as pets, but dragon as a pet is something strange, isn't it? And she named the dragon Custard. So that is something very interesting, children, that why did she name this dragon, which was her pet, as Custard, whereas these names like Ink and Blink and Mustard, of course Custard rhymes with mustard, okay, and Ink and Blink are rhyming words too. So as we learn the poem now, we will understand the characters of the poem and what were their qualities, what qualities they possessed, and what was special about this particular pet, which was named as Custard. So children, let's move to the poem. You can look into your textbook or even look at the screen if you don't have a textbook, and listen carefully as we read the poem and try to discuss. The Tale of Custard the Dragon by Ogden Nash. Belinda lived in a little white house with a little black kitten and a little grey mouse and a little yellow dog and a little red wagon, a realio, trulio, little pet dragon. So wagon here is a vehicle used for transporting goods or any other specified purpose. So as I told you, Belinda is a little girl who lived in a little white house. And who were her pets? A black kitten, a little grey mouse, a little yellow dog, a little red wagon also she had, and a realio, trulio, little pet dragon. Now children, this realio and trulio might sound strange for you. So realio and trulio means real and true. Because as we had discussed in the beginning, dragon being a pet is something very strange for us. So it might surprise you, and you might even wonder as to how can a dragon become a pet. So that's why, in order to make the readers believe that yes, she had a little pet dragon, the poet has used realio and trulio. It also gives a musical effect to the poem. And a realio, trulio, little pet dragon. That means the dragon was real and true. She really had a pet dragon. Now let's look at the literary devices, children, in this particular stanza. The rhyme scheme is AABB. House, mouse, wagon and dragon. Now repetition, the use of the word little. Oxymoron, use of two words with opposite meanings. Here pet, dragon. So pet, we all are familiar with pet animals, but dragon, which we are not used to as hearing to be a pet animal. So pet and dragon contrast each other. So it is an oxymoron. Anaphora, repeated use of word at the start of two consecutive lines. We had learned this before also. And a little and a realio. So and a has been repeated in two consecutive lines. Refrain, a repetition of a sentence again and again in the poem. Here and a realio, trulio has been repeated. Now let's move to the next stanza. Now the name of the little black kitten was Ink, and the little grey mouse she called him Blink, and the little yellow dog was Sharp as Mustard, but the dragon was a coward, and she called him Custard. Mustard, a yellow colored flower. Coward is a person who is not strong or brave, maybe we can say weakling. Now children, I had told you in the beginning about the names of Belinda's pets. The black kitten was known as Ink, the grey mouse was known as Blink, and the little yellow dog was named Mustard. And now let's come to the reason why she called the dragon Custard. Because it was coward, okay? So she called him a Custard. All her other pets, the cat, the mouse and the dog, were very brave. But this particular dragon was a coward, okay? So it was not bold or brave, so she called him Custard. Now the literary devices, the rhyme scheme is again AA, BB, Ink, Blink, Mustard, Custard. Similarly, dog has been compared to mustard, and the little yellow dog was sharp as mustard. Alliteration, covered, and she called him Custard. Covered and custard. Anaphora, a repeated use of the word at the start of 2 consecutive lines, and the little grey and the little yellow. So, and the little has been repeated in 2 consecutive lines. Repetition, here the use of word little. Custard the dragon had big sharp teeth and spikes on top of him and scales underneath, mouth like a fireplace, chimney for a nose, and realio trulio daggers on his toes. Spikes here means, children, thin pointed surface. Scales, thin bony plates protecting the skin of fish and reptiles. Fireplace, an outdoor structure of brick, stone or metal for an open fire. Dagger, a sharp knife. Now, the poet in this particular stanza has described the dragon, Custard. So he says, Custard the dragon has big sharp teeth. You have of course seen a dragon in movies and many children serials or cartoons, and you have also seen pictures of dragons. So you have an idea of how a dragon looks. So it had big sharp teeth and spikes on the top of him. Spikes, as I said, a thin pointed surface. So the pointed skin of the dragon. And the mouth of the dragon has been compared to a fireplace. You might have seen a dragon throwing out fire. So the poet has compared the mouth of the dragon to a fireplace and the nose of the dragon to a chimney, which gives out smoke. And again the line has been repeated, and realio trulio daggers on his toes. Dagger is a sharp knife, as I told you, and the feet of the dragon has been compared to a knife, as sharp as a knife. Okay, so I hope this stanza is clear to you, which describes the dragon, Custard the dragon. Now the literary devices in the above stanza, rhyme scheme again is AABB, teeth underneath and nose and toes. Similarly, a dragon's mouth is compared with a fireplace, mouth like a fireplace, and refrain, repetition of a particular line in a poem, a repetition of a sentence again and again. Here again, and a realio trulio has been repeated. Metaphor, as you know, comparison without the use of like or as. So chimney for a nose, and the nose is like a chimney. So without the use of like, the poet has said chimney for a nose. So that's why it's a metaphor. Belinda was as brave as a barrel full of bears, and ink and blink chased lines down the stairs. Mustard was as brave as a tiger in a rage, but Custard cried for a nice safe cage. Barrel here means drum, and chased here to follow or hunt, and rage means anger. So now again in this stanza, the poet talks about the qualities of the characters. He talks about their inner strength and their bravery. He says Belinda was as brave as a group of bears. Okay, she was brave. And ink and blink. Children, you remember ink and blink? The kitten and the mouse. The black kitten and the grey mouse. So they were so brave that they could chase even the lions. They could scare the lions. They could chase the lions down the stairs. So they were brave. And Mustard was as brave as a tiger in a rage. Rage here means angry tiger. So Mustard was as brave as an angry tiger. But Custard, what was about Custard? Custard cried for a nice, safe cage. Since we had read in the last stanza that Custard was a coward, so he cried for a nice safe cage. That means he just wanted to remain inside a cage very safely. Okay, so he was not as brave as the other pets of Belinda. Let's look at the literary devices. Rhyme scheme again is AABB. It's bears, stairs, rage and cage. Alliteration, Belinda was as brave as a barrel full of bears. The sound b is repeated. Belinda, brave, barrel, bears. Okay. Simile, Belinda's bravery is compared to that of a barrel full of bears. As a barrel full of bears. So comparison using like or as is simile. Mustard's bravery is compared to that of an angry tiger. Mustard was as brave as a tiger in rage. So, simile. Now let's move on to the next stanza. Belinda tickled him as she tickled him unmerciful. Ink, Blink and Mustard, they rudely called him Percival. They all sat laughing in the little red wagon at the realio, trulio, cowardly dragon. Here tickle means stroke, here it means to tease in this particular stanza. Unmerciful, to be cruel, in a cruel manner. Percival is a knight in King Arthur's court. Children, here Percival is a knight. Here knight means a soldier who served his lord. Here the poet has mentioned Percival because Percival was a soldier or a knight who was considered to be very brave, but he ran away because of lack of courage. So here Percival has been mentioned by the poet to talk about Custard, who was a coward. So now here, since Custard was a coward and he loved remaining inside a cage, he was not brave. So Belinda and all her other pets, they made fun of Custard. They laughed at him. Okay, so now we'll see how the poem will take a twist at the end. Now right from the beginning of the poem, children, we have been looking at Custard as being a coward, not brave, not courageous, and who always wanted to remain safe inside a cage. Whereas all the other characters, Belinda's pets, and even Belinda has been described as being very brave, and even Ink, Blink and Mustard, they have been described as being very brave. Now let's see what happens. The rhyme scheme again is AABB, unmerciful, Percival, wagon and dragon. Refrain, repetition of a sentence again and again under realio and trulio. Repetition, the use of the word tickled him. And here personification, Ink and Blink, they rudely called him Percival. So Percival was a soldier. So we know, children, personification is giving life to inanimate things or animating things. Okay, so personification here is Custard has been compared to the soldier Percival, who was a knight, okay, in King Arthur's court. Belinda giggled till she shook the house, and Blink said weak, which is giggling for a mouse. Ink and Mustard rudely asked his age, when Custard cried for a nice safe cage. So Belinda laughed, she laughed so loudly that she shook her house. And Blink also cried, weak, which is giggling for a mouse, So Ink and Mustard also rudely asked about his age. But Custard cried for a nice, safe cage. So in this particular stanza, children, Ink, Blink and Mustard and even Belinda, they are again making fun of Custard by asking his age, laughing at him, giggling at him, making sounds, funny sounds. But Custard did not bother about all these things, and he loved, as usual, to be safe inside a cage. The literary devices, rhyme scheme again, AABB, house, mouse, rage and cage. Onomatopoeia, it's the use of sounds, words to create a dramatic effect. Giggled and weak. Okay. Refrain, Custard cried for a nice, safe cage. So this line has been repeated. So it's a refrain. Suddenly they heard a nasty sound, and Mustard growled, and they all looked around. Meow, cried Ink, and ooh, cried Belinda, for there was a pirate climbing the window. Children, nasty here means bad or unpleasant, and growl here means bark. And a pirate is a person who robs a ship in the sea. Children, here window has been used for window. For window, the poet has written window to give, a tone. For the rhyming word, Belinda. To rhyme with Belinda, the poet has written window. Okay. Now here suddenly what happened, children? Suddenly they heard a sound. When did they hear the sound? When all of them were making fun of Custard, the dragon. They were laughing at him, they were giggling at him, and even the Mustard, asked about his age, and they were making fun of him. So when they were making fun of him, suddenly they heard a nasty sound, a very unpleasant sound. And Mustard also barked, and they all looked around as to from where the sound came. And even Ink cried meow, and ooh, cried Belinda. Okay, so they all were stunned by this nasty sound which came suddenly out of nowhere. And what did they see? There was a pirate, a person who robs ship, climbing in the window. So suddenly they saw there was a pirate who was climbing the window. Literary devices, children, again, the rhyme scheme is AABB, sound around Belinda and window. Onomatopoeia, usage of sound words to create a dramatic effect. Mustard growled and mew, cried Ink. Okay. Pistol in his left hand, pistol in his right, and he held his teeth a cutlass bright. His beard was black, one leg was wood. It was clear that the pirate meant no good. Children, pistol, you all know what it is, a handgun. And cutlass here is a short sword with a curved blade. So this particular stanza talks about the pirate. The poet describes the pirate, his appearance, that he had pistol in his right and left hand, and in his teeth there was a sword, okay, sharp sword, and his beard was black, and one leg was wood. One leg was wood means he had an artificial leg. So he was physically challenged. Okay, but it was clear that the pirate had come to harm them. Pirate had not come to do something good to them. So he had come there to harm them. Rhyme scheme again is AABB, right, bright, wood and good. Alliteration, beard was black, he held his. The sound of b and h. Imagery. An image is created about the appearance of the pirate. The way the poet has described the pirate, so we can imagine a pirate in our mind. The words that the poet has used to describe a pirate, the rhyming words. Belinda paled and she cried, "Help, help." But Mustard fled with a terrified yelp. Ink trickled down to the bottom of the household, and little Mouse blinked strategically mousehold. Now this is the twist in the poem, kids. Pale here means turn pale out of fear, and yelp here means a short sharp cry. Trickle means run, and strategically means planned, in a planned way. And mouse hole here is the hole where a mouse lives. Now suddenly when they saw a pirate climbing the window, what happened? Belinda was in fear. Till now Belinda was described as being very brave, isn't it, children? Now suddenly she became pale with fear and she cried for help. And what did Mustard do? Mustard fled with a terrified yelp. Mustard too cried and ran away from there. And what happened to Ink, the black kitten? It trickled down to the bottom of the household. Ink also ran away from there. Okay. And what happened to Blink, the little mouse? It also went into its hole. Mouse hold. Strategically. Strategically means all of them, ran away as though they had planned this in advance. As if they knew a pirate was about to come, and the moment they saw the pirate, they all would run away. So it appeared as though it was planned. Okay, children. Now do you remember the poet had described Belinda, Ink and Blink and Mustard as being very brave. Mustard was like a angry tiger, and Ink and Blink would frighten even lions, and Belinda was brave as a group of bears. Now suddenly everybody's courage disappeared. Belinda started crying for help, and Ink and Blink and Mustard ran away to their respective places and tried to hide themselves. So now children, we can guess who was a coward. Custard was called a coward in the beginning, isn't it? That is why he was named Custard. Now let's look at this rhyme scheme. Again it is AABB, help, yelp, household and mousehole. And repetition, the word help has been repeated. So children, since it's a lengthy poem, we'll stop here today and try to learn the remaining part of the poem in the next class, and we'll also look at some of the question answers. Children, I would request you to read the part of the poem which we have read today and try to write down the difficult words in your notebook and also the literary devices after each stanza, just as we did today while learning the poem. So it will really help you when you are revising the poem. And also try to understand what we had learned today and try to comprehend the poem in a better manner. What has the poet tried to tell us through these characters? Belinda and her pets. So the remaining part of the poem will really be a suspense for you and also a learning for you, because we learn a lot, from your lessons and poems that is there in your syllabus. Okay, so I hope you would read the poem well and come prepared so that we learn the remaining part in a better manner, and you are also ready to answer the questions that are there in the text and also questions that are not there in the text, additional questions that could be asked in your examination. So happy reading, stay safe, stay at home.